Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 613 on Tuesday, the 6th of January, 2025. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And as we brush the last turkey sandwich crumbs from our woolly jumpers, we'll be scratching our heads over one deal. In new car news, Alan will be delighted with one bit of news. And in points of interest, we have found a list to share. But first, we have some follow-up because it has been, it turns out, a couple of weeks since we recorded. And we're going to start with the big news out of Germany, and Volkswagen has reached agreement with the unions about what they're going to do to try and save $4 billion in a very short space of time. They will be cutting 35,000 jobs over the next 5 years. That is to be through voluntary means, which is an awful lot of people taking early retirement. But there will be severance packages as well. So there'll be sweeteners. They've got roughly 120,000 employees in Germany. They are not technically shutting any plants.
Yeah, because this was one of the big threats, wasn't it? Because one of the things that Volkswagen has never done is close a plant in Germany.
Yes.
But there is going to be some reallocation going on.
A couple of the plants are going to do other things, which they haven't really been clear about. And one is going to be sold off to, it is reported, a defense contractor manufacturer. We're going to have two articles linked. We've got a Autocar and we're going to have an AP one. And in the AP one, it talks about how the Golf model will move from Wolfsburg to Mexico. And they're going to reduce the assembly lines from 4 to 2 for the ID3 and the Cupra Born. And they will also lose some 4,000 vehicle development jobs at Wolfsburg. Now, that one I'm really worried about, because what Volkswagen need is top quality development people to bring on the next generation of vehicles that people will go wow at, as opposed to, okay, which is what they've got at the minute, apart from their stalwarts like the Golf and the Passat. But it's their electric stuff. They really need to start exciting people about their electric stuff.
Because the ID7 gets good write-ups, but it's not exactly interesting. It is incredibly competent, it seems.
Well, it's one of the few estates as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And it does have a good range, but there are, we will record a special edition where that will be included soon. We'll talk about that more in detail. But I think you covered it best when we were chatting before we press record. Obviously, Volkswagen came in with such a very high bar of, this is the implications if you don't agree something, which was shutting plants, people just fired, no voluntary, it was just going to be numbers picked and you were gone. Many people are saying, oh, look at the power of Lower Saxony and the unions, which is true, but I think Volkswagen...
It is very true.
Volkswagen board knew that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, it was going in with a scorched earth bid in the first place, I think.
Also, I think to show how dire the situation was to everybody.
I think so. And it takes quite a lot to admit to that, to be honest, as well.
Now, the question is it enough to save Volkswagen in the longer term?
Yeah, I think Volkswagen is fine in the longer term, really, as a company, as a group. But I think that, there's going to be some reallocation of resources and all that kind of thing. I don't think they're in the same kind of straits as the next story we're going to talk about. The thing is, despite all of this, people do seem to be buying Volkswagens.
That's my worry. You see, people are buying Volkswagens and they're still struggling. Anyway, take us to Japan, Alan.
Yes, right before Christmas, there was a big announcement that Honda and Nissan are going to start a merger between the two. I love this. Sorry, there's a first line, and this kind of wording was used in loads of places. And this is from an Autocar article by James Atwood. It says, Japanese giants Honda and Nissan have confirmed that they will begin talks to merge their companies into a new automotive powerhouse. That could include Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi, like a lemon in every relationship.
What I liked about this story breaking, though, was so many people went, oh, this is shock news. And we're like, we did talk about this about 3 weeks ago.
We talked about it. Yes.
Reaffirms how well-informed the listeners of the Motoring Podcast are.
Yes, exactly. This is a very strange one. Obviously, Nissan have spent the last a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of internal fighting trying to separate out from Renault and their previous partnership and alliance, which wasn't really a merger. And now they're going headlong into another one. I guess the difference from their point of view is that, well, this is a Japanese company, so it's going to be different, as opposed to a French company run by the iron fist of a Lebanese gentleman. We had a quick run through the stories beforehand, and just that usual thing of, so what does one bring to the other here? Other than a more up-to-date sort of engine range from Honda, these are two companies that seem to essentially deliver in the same market segments in the same countries.
Yeah.
Whereas before, there was a differentiator between Renault worked in South America, in Central America, but not in North America. Nissan had all of that area.
Mm.
These two companies seem to be very, very similar. And yeah, as far as car manufacturing, they're producing perfectly adequate vehicles. Some would argue that Honda are slightly more interesting than Nissan these days.
Mm.
We don't understand what the value is in this merger. And it might well be that, there's synergies there and they can save money because they're building the same sorts of things in the same sorts of places. And
well, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about they're going to use the same platforms. So they're going to do what Stellantis do and what any large motor manufacturer does.
Yeah, which is the sensible thing to do.
Honestly, should be a given. They're going to also integrate their supply chain. Apparently, again, you would expect that. They're going to integrate the back office operations. Again, you would expect that. And there's going to be job losses as a result of all this. But one of the things they talk about, and I think we need to add this to the drinking game whenever it's mentioned, but the merger, it says in this article, the merger would be increasing their shared research and development, particularly in areas such as software-defined vehicles. Ding, drink. Which will be key to future growth. I love that.
Puzzles me, that one, because Honda is an engine manufacturer.
Yes.
And the challenge with Nissan has some EVs, but they're not mostly Renault?
They sat on their hands from the Leaf.
Other than the Leaf. The Leaf.
They sat on their hands. They brought that out and did nothing with it.
Yeah, that's essentially it. And Honda, again, not the greatest track record in EVs.
No. So
far. In the US, General Motors makes the Honda Passport. It's a rebadged E-Blazer or whatever it's called. It's a rebadged, rebodied Chevrolet. It just seems very, very strange because as everyone moves towards more and more electrification and stuff, these two companies that I could see a company that's not great at electrification merging with a company that is great at electrification, and then we can see where the value is in that.
Yeah,
but here the kind of both.
I think it's panic.
Slightly stuck.
It's the only thing I can think of from both of them as well, because they're both because all Japanese manufacturers are way behind the curve on EVs. They have been caught napping because I don't know why. They shouldn't have been, but they have been. Like we said, the Leaf was the first mainstream affordable EV out there, and they just did nothing beyond that, and that's ridiculous. And part of the reason. Anyway, I will take us on to the next bit of follow-up. Otherwise, we're going to be here all day just talking about NISSAN.
We are, yeah.
And this is the news that the new Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, has launched the consultation that we were all expecting on the zero-emission vehicle mandate and how it can be improved in line with the realities of the market and what manufacturers are able to do.
In between that, let's just double check. What you've said is they're going, oh, hang on, the thresholds that were originally set are not realistic, so now we have to look at them again, despite the fact that they've been being told they've been not realistic for quite some time, and anyone following the figures would know they were never going to get reached.
Yeah, and on top of that, the government politicians have been starting to say, when this was beginning to be muttered about, they were going, we were just handed this legislation. Even though they very much said, we're bringing back the 2030 ban. There never was a ban, but never mind. We've got the car industry on one hand going, 25% or 22% was not realistic. What you're putting it up to as 2025 comes in really isn't realistic. And on the other hand, you've got the charging industry going, do not slow it down. Oh my God. Please don't slow down the push for EVs. Otherwise, we're screwed. I don't know what they're going to come up with, but it is interesting looking at the language being used around this. There's lots of talk about making it easier to charge and reduce the worry of charging from the list of potential reasons why someone might not buy an EV. They are not saying, and they've been very clear to not say this, they are not saying we will add incentives and give money to people to buy a car. That's not to say they won't do that, but they are not mentioning it. That, I think, is interesting.
Yeah. Which kind of goes against what, for example, the SMMT to keep China.
Well, we know since whenever there was the first scrappage scheme, anytime a market goes down slightly, scrappage scheme, quick, government throw us money.
Yeah.
Anyway, talking of SMMT, Alan, now we're into new news.
Well, yes, what a fine link that happened to be. We're into the new news. Obviously, the registration figures for December came out just yesterday. The thing with December ones is that they get all mixed up with the full year ones, of course. The figures for December show that it is down 0.2% against December 2023. That is pretty much stable, but of course not the growth that everybody desperately wants. Overall, the growth for the year has been at 2.6%. So again, overall, on aggregate, pretty much the same. The splits by fuel, petrol takes 52.2% market share, diesel 6.3%. I remember when it was over 50%. Hybrid electric vehicles 13.4%, battery electric vehicles 19.6%, and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles 8.6%.
That was for year to date.
And that was for year to date, yes. That was for the whole of 2024.
Yep.
For December, again, as we've seen throughout the year, it's very much being supported by fleet. 65.9% of all new vehicle registrations was to fleets, 31.5% to private buyers, and 2.6% to business. December was particularly high for fleet.
Why was that, Alan?
Well, we think that there's a high likelihood. Similarly, by the way, when we go back to the by fuel, we see that battery electric vehicles made up 31% of the market share. And of course, this is everybody trying to possibly pre-register their vehicles before the 1st of January so that they have as many as many credits as possible going into the next year. We'll see that whenever we come to the top registers list as well. Overall for the year, fleet registered 11.8% more. 59.6% of all vehicles registered were to fleets.
That is so scary.
It is 38.2% for private, 2.2% for business. Massive surge in fleet electric registrations towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Overall, up a smidgen. In total, for the entirety of 2024, there was 1,952,778 vehicles registered. The top registers list for December.
Wait a second, though. SMMT, you've changed the title once again.
God, I put it back.
You've regressed once more.
Stop it. The most registers for December, we'll start off with the Nissan Juke, 1,972. These are not big numbers, everyone. Number 4, the Audi Q4 e-tron. As I say, fleets, huh? Electric fleets, huh?
Holding back the EVs. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, who'd have thought about it, yeah. Number 8, the Volvo XC40. Number 7, the Vauxhall Corsa. Number 6, the MG ZS, and that's us at 2,780 vehicles registered. Number 5, the Ford Puma. Number 4, the Mini Cooper. And number 3, the Nissan Qashqai, 3,371. Number 2, the Tesla Model 3 with 3,477. And number 1, the Tesla Model Y with 5,165. Now, last couple of months, very quiet on the Tesla front.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, this fleet surge in December.
Just in time for their...
Was it in another quarter?
Yeah.
Goodness, what a surprise. For the full year, though, numbers are slightly different. In full year, number 10 is the Volkswagen Polo. 28,981. Number 9, the Volvo XC40. Number 8, the MG HS. Number 7, the Hyundai Tucson. Number 6, the Volkswagen Golf at 32,370. Number 5, the Tesla Model Y. 4, the Nissan Juke. 3, the Nissan Qashqai. Number 2, the Kia Sportage, 47,163. And number 1, the Ford Puma, 48,340. Worth mentioning, the highest market share for the entire year actually went to Volkswagen.
Yes.
And not only that, but 2 of the models in the top 10 there for the year are from Nissan.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 companies we've already been talking about being beleaguered and in trouble are actually doing relatively well in the UK. But globally, I think the picture is slightly different.
Yeah. I'll run through the spreadsheet of doom first. Arbath is down, and this is only going to be for December. I'm not doing the full year. Don't worry. I'm not doing 2 spreadsheets of doom. Arbath is down 73%. Audi is down 25%. To put that into context, because that's quite a bit of profit, actually. In 2023, December was 9,614. In 24, it was 7,175.
And yet still the second highest market share.
Yeah.
Over the whole of 2024.
BMW is down 18%. DS is down 65%. Honda down 25%. Ineos down 53%. Last year, 36. This year, 17. Jaguar down 64%. Land Rover down 20%. Lexus down 19%. Maserati down 18%. Mercedes-Benz down 16%. Aura down 68%. Polestar down 19%. Seat 36% reduction. Smart is a 56% reduction. Subaru down 46%. Suzuki, down 66%. But then again, they have contracted their options severely, so that's not a surprise. And then other imports is down 24%.
Meanwhile, in the good news range, Alpine up 50%, 24 vehicles. Whee! Bentley up 45%. BYD get the MG award for ridiculous percentages with up 415.21%. 1,355 vehicles registered compared to 263 in December last year. So Cupra up 34.24%, Fiat up 36%, Genesis up 54%, Jeep up 238%. Again, having vehicles to sell does make a difference. Mazda up 32, Peugeot up 18, Porsche up 24, Renault up 63, Skoda up 31, Tesla up 57% from 5,517 to 8,645. Volvo up 33%, and other British up 15.38%.
Okay, I think that wraps up SMMT.
Yeah, a bit longer than usual this time. Sorry, it's just end of the year.
Yep. I'm going to take us on to the news that a vehicle engineer was sacked because he highlighted issues with VinFast's car that was coming out. If you remember, VinFast has had quite a checkered 2024.
Yes, there's
the Vietnamese electric car manufacturer.
I think anybody who's driven a VinFast would say that there were issues with their cars.
Yes. And if you were from Vietnam, you might go to jail for saying that.
Yes, be very careful about it. But it turns out that quite a lot of the development work was done by Tata Technologies here in the UK. Tata Technologies, obviously part of Tata Group. Tata Group also owns JLR.
Yes. Mr. Denley, who was the chassis specialist designer and was leading the engineering team, highlighted internally that there were problems because VinFast apparently wanted to use subpar parts and not adequately engineered and not adequately tested on the roads. They were trying to rush the vehicles out and it is alleged, use the cheapest parts possible. Once he was not able to get anywhere internally with that, he then took to Reddit to voice his concerns with this. at which point he was fired by Tata Technologies. He then got a job via an agency in JLR, and this is where it gets really quite bad, and or even worse, is that Tata Technologies are accused of blacklisting him and putting pressure via the group company on JLR to then end the contract for Mr. Denley, which is a hell of a thing, a hell of a ridiculous thing to have allowed yourselves to be pulled into this by both Tata and JLR for something because VinFast was not happy that their poor decisions were being highlighted.
Yes, exactly. And many people have highlighted the way that VinFast operates. They very much act like a bunch of hoods, really, don't they?
It's all the reasons why we have consumer protection stuff and we have safety stuff
totally
and all this stuff. This is like the early 1900s type attitude, or 1800s attitude of how we just get stuff out, stuff everyone else, forget the consumer if it's dangerous, it doesn't matter, it's all about us, and it's just madness. We should be beyond that.
Absolutely. You would think so, but it seems that VinFast themselves haven't quite got that far.
No.
But to then be putting pressure because you don't like what somebody has said, and admittedly, you shouldn't be going and spreading these things on Reddit. Let's make that clear as well.
But I think he felt he had no choice because he felt
it was safety concerns.
It was such a huge safety issue that he had to be public with it because internally. And it also says in the BBC article that 3 other people who'd led the team ahead of him had quit.
He asked to be reassigned, according to the BBC article. Anyway, he's now taking JLR to an employment tribunal. We shall see what happens. I'm sure we'll find out at some point in the next few months.
Yeah. Anyway, why don't you take us to Britain's roads?
Councils need to get on with fixing potholes, says the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. The government has announced how it's going to allocate its £1.6 billion budget for road maintenance, and basically each local authority in England is going to receive a cut of the budget in the next financial year, which is meant to be £500 million higher than the previous amount. Some of that is being held back until authorities have shown that they are delivering. I don't know quite how you're going to do that, like measure the lifespan of the pothole patch or whatever. Each local authority in England can use the money to identify which roads are most need a repair and deliver immediate fixes. There are, in this part of Northamptonshire, there are some quite impressive holes beginning. A lot of that's just very high truck traffic around here, which really doesn't help. The whole thing is just a political constant, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not going to change until the UK's attitude to infrastructure changes, really.
Yeah, it's true.
Let me take us to... sorry about this, Volkswagen, but we're back to you. Because a security researcher found that Volkswagen data, this is Volkswagen Group data, for EV owners was left exposed on an unprotected, misconfigured cloud storage system for months.
Can we just very quickly highlight, this is from carscoops.com. Can we very quickly highlight the headline on this, which is massive VW data leak exposed 800,000 EV owners' movements, from homes to brothels.
So what happened was that these were easily accessed online. It was from typical software that's used to check these things, and it revealed the location data, but also more information about the cars, the battery charge levels, and whether it was switched on or off, which is a bit of a problem because owners included, because this covered Volkswagen, Audi, Seat, Skoda in Germany and other parts of the world. But this covered people like German politicians, entrepreneurs, the Hamburg police EV fleet, and suspected intelligence service employees are all thought to have been caught up in this. It's what we say whenever this comes up, isn't it?
Yeah, all caused by misconfigured AWS cloud storage.
They just don't get it. I have become convinced, having dealt with similar things, that very, very senior people need to have this done to them for them to take it remotely seriously, because they just don't think it's a thing. And it is.
Yeah.
It is a big, bad thing. Now you're going to have people going, actually, I don't trust you to look after my data or my company's data, because if it's a company car, why am I going to buy your car?
Yeah, exactly. That's totally what's going to happen.
Trust is absolutely paramount in the software-defined vehicle era.
And let's be very clear on this. This isn't through bad actors. This wasn't through maliciousness or anything like that. This was just not securing stuff properly. This falls under the whole incompetence rather than evil. So let's not misread that. Other thing that's to be pointed out is that when it was discovered, when it was then reported back through the correct means, that Cariad responded quickly, thoroughly, and responsibly, and sorted it as quickly as they could within a matter of hours. It's been fixed now, and hopefully lessons have been learned. It won't happen again. But
it shouldn't have happened in the first place, and they should have had systems in place to check for this anyway.
Do you know when this kind of thing's most likely to happen? It's when you've got lots of turnover of people.
Ah. Is it also when you say we're going to rush things through quickly?
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm.
That happens. So that happens a little bit, but not so much. It's more that somebody didn't know that they needed to change these settings or something.
Anyway, do you want to stick to our digital future wonderfulness?
This is the weirdest, most predictable thing in the world ever. In some states in the US, you can get digital license plates.
Yeah, we can't work it out either.
Yeah, no. That's like your license plate, but it's like one of these, it's like a Kindle screen. It can be set and it can show it shows the license, the number. Now, there are some things that you can do. For example, if your car's been stolen, you can remotely change it so that it says that the car's been stolen, and all sorts of things like that. You can pay a significant subscription every month to have this particular joy on the rear and front of your car. And they come from a company called Reviver. Obviously, what has happened, and you can all see what's coming here, can't you, is that people have worked out how to jailbreak them. In theory, it shouldn't be possible to do this because it's all proprietary trips and it's all super secret everything.
That we haven't cut and pasted from GitHub at all.
But it turns out that by removing a sticker on the back of the plate and attaching a cable to its internal connectors, a researcher at a security firm called IO Active was able to then basically rewrite the plate's firmware in a matter of minutes, and with the custom firmware, it can receive commands via Bluetooth from a smartphone app to show any characters, any image, anything like that. And of course, what you can then do is you can then have the whole James Bond changeable number plate thing, so that somebody else gets billed for your tickets going through tolls, so that they can't be read going through tolls, all sorts of things. Why do you need this?
You don't. It's just stupid.
You're taking jobs away from good criminals. It's just the most ridiculously kind of pointless thing going. Obviously, this was going to happen. It was so blatant. It was never not going to happen.
Yeah.
These are available in California, and I forgot where else. I just don't know why you want this, really. It's just Arizona. There we go. Clever state. I just don't know why this would ever be a thing you'd want. And they're very expensive, by the way. They're either $700, or they were in Michigan, $700, or you can pay a significant tens of dollars a month subscription plan, should you want that instead. $29.99.
Madness.
Probably plus tax. A subscription fee for that, should you wish. Just bat poo.
Well, I think that brings us kicking and screaming to the end of the first part of the first show of 2025.
Yes, it does. Gosh, and goodness me, it's been quite a kick and scream. Well, some of you will have a good time in the gym today. It is, of course, Guilt Minute, quick break in the show where I ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel the Motoring Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, we do completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show in whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all that, some of you do, so thank you very much. Then the last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone that does. right into the first new car news of 2025. And there's not too much news, but we will start with NIO is going to launch in the UK in the first quarter, it is claimed, with the Onvo L60, which is apparently a competitor to the Tesla YOY. It looks a bit similar to it, but it looks inoffensive.
It's generic electric car.
Yes, basically. Why are they coming to the UK so early? Well, we don't have any tariffs, which makes our market very attractive. Plus, we have the zero-emission vehicle mandate, whatever that may look like in the future, but we've still got it.
Well, the thing is that if they sell some cars, then they can also then sell the credits to other manufacturers as well. So there is a dual income stream for these.
Absolutely.
That's the first of the models that NIO's looking to bring. In China, it costs about £24,000. It's more likely to be about £40,000 in Europe by the time that you've got the same kind of spec, I think.
Awesome. Another affordable electric vehicle. I love it.
Onvo will target family buyers in the lower premium segment with an overt focus on interior space, safety, and utility, and not being a Tesla.
Yes. Hey-ho. Anyway, do you want to take us to a rebranding?
Ooh. GWM Aura is going to be rebranding its UK dealers as a GWM in early 2025. Hopefully they'll also be changing their naming in the SMMT listings spreadsheet as well.
Yes.
Because it's listed as Aura. What's happened here is that originally GWM was only going to bring the Aura brand to the UK, but now they've decided that they might well bring others, especially as it prepares to launch its Haval Jolyon Pro hybrid SUV, which is as delightful to look at as you would imagine.
We're going to see more hybrids because they are not hit by the same tariffs in Europe because of the EV side of things.
Yes.
Expect to see all these Chinese manufacturers come out with hybrids. GWM has 5 model lines. They have the Aura, the Haval that you just mentioned, the Way, Tank, and Power. I don't want to say Power.
Let's
but
choose
Power.
Okay.
You have to click the AM Online article to read the name yourself, and you decide how you're going to pronounce that.
Yeah.
But hey-ho, there we go. And going back to NIO, they are going to bring their budget EV brand Firefly to Europe. And they're going to launch it says £16,000 hatch in Europe. It looks astonishingly similar to the Honda E, if you're trying to imagine what it looks like.
Yes.
It's not unattractive.
But it's like a Honda E crossed with a spider,
Yes.
given its number of headlamps. It's got like 3 circular lamps per side. It's a bit...
Yes, front and back.
Yeah.
We don't know whether it's coming to the UK yet. We would presume it will be. That would be a seller. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
It's £16,000 equivalent in China.
Okay, so it's not going to be
expect it to be hitting 30,000 anyway.
Yeah.
By the time it gets here,
very similar to the Honda E in all forms. Then. Okay, Alan, let's take us on to the new car news item that's going to delight you.
Well, the good news about this new car news item is it's not about a generic Chinese electric or hybrid SUV, which is a win. It is, however, about Arnold Clark. So there we go. Now, Arnold Clark is to, strange wording here, partner with US sport brand Corvette. I think we all know what a Corvette is, but you'll notice that they're definitely not being Chevrolet. The word Chevrolet does not appear in this article at all.
No.
Arnold Clark is going to have 2 flagship Corvette dealerships, one in Glasgow, unsurprisingly, the other one in Altrincham, near Manchester, which is set to sell cars specifically built for the UK market.
Strange there's nothing down south. I mean, I'm not complaining because it's nice to see something above the Watford Gap, but typically you would expect something...
I think people in London are far too fancy to buy Corvettes. It's very much more a Glasgow and Manchester car.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Perhaps not, but yeah.
Yeah, yes. This means that AM100 dealership group, and it says here, becomes the exclusive dealer for right-hand drive models, as well as heading sales for the north of England. May well be an importer in London that we've got to deal with, I think.
Right, okay.
Not Claremont. There's another one that's down in London. I think that's probably why. They're the North of England distributors.
Yeah. It's very particular wording. But it's great to see Corvette back, though. That's good. That is good.
Yes, the C8, the current mid-engine one, is a good-looking car. It's very easy to get mixed up with a Ferrari.
Mm.
And I don't mean that in fact, I think it's probably better looking, apart from the very sharp side bits. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Mm. It is a pretty cool car. I mean, I went to the Corvette Museum last summer in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which of course is where they're made. There's a whole load of them lined up, ready for collection from the museum. It would be really cool if these dealerships were able to organise that kind of collection event from the US and collect it in Kentucky, because it's a really nice part of the country. That would be what you do if you're going to buy one new. See if you can get them to do that for you.
Cool. I think that takes us to points of interest now.
Mm.
And we're going to start with a really fascinating article that you found, Alan, on Haggerty. And it's about a Special Forces officer, how he armoured a Camaro, and I'm not making any of this up, and helped deliver humanitarian aid to civilians in war-torn Bosnia he did it whilst the war was on between 92 and 95, and then he carried on doing it afterwards when there was the ceasefire. But it is an astonishingly interesting story. One, the car he picked. Two, what he was doing as well. And three, he did it totally unarmed.
Yeah.
The help he got, whether official or unofficial, we do not know, from other military personnel in the area to help kit out the vehicle and stuff. And it also caught the attention of toy makers because he was delivering toys to kids at Christmas and stuff. This is just a fascinatingly good story in a truly dreadful conflict.
Yes, it's an older article. It's from 2020, but I swear I read it before, but I don't think we ever included it in the show.
No.
Definitely have a read. It's really interesting, bit of a feel-good story. List of the week this week is the Evo Car of the Year, every winner since 1998. So it is quite long. One might say there's a theme to it, but it is a long list of very impressive, very cool cars, many of which I would quite like to own.
Yes.
But Andrew, have you picked a favourite Porsche 911 from this?
Yes, I've picked the Honda NSX-R, the NA2. That was my favourite Porsche from this list. I did nearly pick a Porsche, to be fair, though.
Yeah, same here.
There are some absolute crackers on here. And what have you done? What Porsche have you picked for?
I have now scrolled past where I was, so let me just make sure I get the correct one. I think it was the 997.1 911 Carrera S from 2004. Yes, very cool. Not the big wing model, not anything fancy, just a 911.
There's some stunning photography and some fab cars, obviously, as you would expect in Evo Car of the Year. Do click on the link in the show notes and let us know what Porsche you pick.
And Hondas. Yeah.
But that leads us to the and finally. And this is a late edition but fabulous one. It's from Jalopnik, and the headline is "Wealthy New Yorker Horrified by Prospect of 20-Minute Walk." And this is all because New York is the first US city to have brought in congestion pricing. Welcome to what most of the rest of the world does. Whether you agree with it or not, it is what is happening elsewhere. And this is talking about one particular gentleman who is furious that it's going to cost him an awful lot of money to drive and probably take longer to get to see his children than walking to go see his children. And it just shows a little bit of the one-eyedness that usually comes around from these things.
It does point that he owns a couple of different... The chap who was included in freedomnews.tv, which is where he was interviewed, so I'll let you all draw your own conclusions from that.
I presume that's a massive YouTube channel.
He can't believe he has to pay to drive 3 blocks in New York City to go and see his children. It's $9 each day if you pass 60th Street, it seems, because he lives on 61st Street, and the only way he can get to where he wants to go to see his children is that he has to go round the block because of the one-way system. He has to pass into and out of that to go visit his kids on 79th Street, which is not that far. The thing is, the guy himself happens to own a couple of different property groups and is worth many, many, many millions. He sold his rental company for $49.6 million, and he's complaining that it might cost him as much, potentially as $18 per day, to drive for 10 minutes and then try to find a parking space again to go visit his children. I mean, he may well probably be cheaper getting a cab. Might be a suggestion, or walking as well. So yeah, I mean, it's there we go. It just gives you an idea of just how crazy it is. Lots of the feedback on this on social media to this introduction of this new congestion charging was that, well, I can't afford that. I'm just going to have to get the train instead. She's like, yes, that's the point. That's it. Yeah. That's exactly why they're doing it. And the money from this, by the way, the money from this congestion is earmarked and put aside specifically for improving public transport as well. It's not just going into some generic random pot. It is there to improve public transport in and out of New York City.
Which is as it should be.
Yes, exactly. As someone who drove across New York City less than a week ago. Yes. Definitely. More people should be getting public. And then got public transport through it on the way back north again, just for balance. I think that pretty much covers it for the week.
Yes.
Next week's recording timing for those of you who watch or listen live, hopefully back to an evening slot, or at least for some of us a human time of the day, which is good. I'm so looking forward to it. I really am. But between now and then, don't forget that you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts for the show at motoringpodcast.com, on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast, on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Semaphore?
Yes, at the moment. But otherwise, you can find me on Blue Sky, where I'm Crack Windscreen, or on LinkedIn under my real name, which both of which I might open once again soonish. And so if you want to connect there, I will be getting to those at some point when I feel I'm strong enough emotionally and physically to do so.
Yes, quite.
How about you, Alan, once you have made it up to the far north near the wall?
So it's best to use Blue Sky, where I'm at AJP Bradley. That's Bradley. We'll be back very soon, but until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.